Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 25 of the InkPod Podcast. Today we are with Kenny, who is the president of Steam Engine Stickers. Thanks for joining today, Kenny.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I've been looking forward to it and a bit nervous.
Awesome.
Don't be, man. We're good. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Did you guys meet in Printing United as well, or you guys didn't? I didn't even see Sean at all during Printing United. I was planning to meet up with him, but I messaged him once for
No,
dinner. He's like, I'm sitting down eating right now.
I was cooked. We got in so late. Our flight was delayed. Anyways, that was a long story. Printing United was like a show we went one day, and then we slept the next day, and then came back home. It was a quick in and out. It was not a real Vegas trip, but yeah.
Yeah, it was fast.
Yeah.
Kenny, was that your first time doing one of those shows?
Yes, actually. Yeah. I had been looking at a couple of them, but that one seemed like the one that we wanted to go to for the first one.
Yeah.
It's
Didn't
massive.
know exactly what to expect either. It was
Yeah.
we did end up spending a lot more time there than we had anticipated, so that was good.
Yeah, I mean, I spent
Nice.
like 2 full days walking. I mean, mind you, I had some appointments with clients and suppliers, but like I didn't get to see everything. I mean, like literally the last day I had 2 hours to like skim through booths and quickly see what's going on. But the next one that you want to get to, Kenny, is Long Beach. Sean, what's that one called? Impressions Expo?
Yeah, it's Impression Expo in Long Beach at the ISS show, right? It's a good one. I like it, and it's
Yeah.
nice. It's next to the
Those
beach.
are
It's a good one.
those yeah, those are the two shows you want to see every year if you're going to the States. It's Impressions Expo and Printing United. Anyway, so Kenny, do
Okay.
you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself? Maybe how you got into the industry. Also, maybe introducing steam engine stickers to our audience that are listening today.
Yeah, for sure. So, Kenny Joss from Steam Engine Stickers. To just kind of keep this quick, it was my first job in high school. I wanted to put a stereo in my truck. I need to make more money, and up till that point, I just worked in my parents' business. So I ended up working in a sign shop weeding decals every hour that I could, and that's how I got started. We didn't have any printers. There was screen print and cutters, and that was it. So that was kind of the start. I actually ended up getting laid off when they bought their first printer, and yeah, so it worked out fine because I was on my way to college anyways. I was gonna have to quit anyways. So I went to college, became a certified engineering technologist, went into design and drafting, not really related to science stuff, but it was all drawing. At the end of the day, it was all drawing and designing things. Kind of went that path for a while, and came back to the sign and decal industry in 2015 when I started my first shop, which was KJ Concepts. And that was started with, oddly enough, I think it may have even been the first printer that laid me off. It ended up getting sold out of town. And then I went and bought it. And the guy that I bought it off of was like, yeah, this actually came from where you're taking it. I was like, all right, well, I guess I win.
That's
Yeah.
So
funny.
Full circle.
yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
So yeah, we ended up starting with, I say we, it was just me at the time, but started printing anything and everything I could, and started working with actually a lot of the companies, the trade companies that I did a lot of design work with in the engineering world. I started doing like their work trucks and all of the company signage and stuff like that. It started getting a little confusing because I was doing design and drafting and I was doing signs and stickers all under KJ Concepts. So we decided to split it out, and that was where Steam Engine Stickers was born, is all the sign and decal and sticker stuff ended up moving over to that side of things. And we added some partners to it. So there's four of us involved in it. It's not a real big company yet, but yeah, that's kind of how we ended up getting on our path to building what is now Steam Engine Stickers.
And I guess before you were, you know, I mean, when someone asks you what do you do, and it's funny because when I had my printing business, people would ask my grandmother, she lived across the street from me, and they just saw like every single day I would just print these t-shirts and a truck would come and pick them up. And they would ask like, and I explained it to my grandmother, my grandfather, like, sorry, who buys these shirts? And I'm like, the people buy them on the internet.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, how do they find you? And like, what are these shirts? So my grandmother, people would ask her on the street, like, what does your grandson do? He has trucks pulling up constantly. He's like, he's an internet businessman. It was like, that's the only thing. It was some type of business to do with the internet. So, if you
Yeah.
look at yourself, like, what do you tell people? Like, hey, I print stickers, or like, are you a sign shop? What part of your business? I know maybe you did a lot of sign stuff, but is it you found your niche and you're focusing mostly into stickers? Like, what do you kind of describe yourself as, and what's the bulk of your business that you do?
Yeah. So we're still doing both, I guess. But where we're moving more and more towards is the e-commerce small size stickers with quantity where we've kind of automated that process. And the reason for that is, for one, we don't have a lot of labor power available. So to be able to work on the design of a trailer project and then print, then have install, like our shop's not big enough anymore to put a trailer in because it's full of equipment. And
Yeah.
and what I was finding was locally it was hard to compete because everyone was competing on price. They all had more overhead than us. And as there was more competitors locally, they just kept cutting each other's knees out. And so I remember there was one job, I quoted it, I ended up being almost double the price of another shop in town that just needed it. And it was actually my wife's cousin's company. He's like, can you do any better? I'm like, no. Like, they either missed something or are really hurting. So just go get them to do it, right? So
Yeah.
that was kind of the push, because when we're working on square footage, when you actually look at like how much people are paying for, a sticker that's like, 2 inches by 3 inches, it's astronomical compared to the material that's in it. But what makes them not profitable to do is the back end getting to the point of that sticker's ready to print, right? They're like, oh, I just need these stickers. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, how many, what size, and what finish? And they're like, 200. You're like, okay, what about the other questions? And you have like this huge long
Yeah.
email list, and all of a sudden they're not very profitable. And I think that's why a lot of shops kind of have shied away from them, or they're really expensive to make them. So that was kind of the push to build a bit more of an automated system right online. Now, when we see the order, we have all the information of what needs to happen in that sticker order, and we're already paid, right? They put add to cart.
Yeah.
Now it's already, the money's on its way. We just have to make the proof, which is probably our bottleneck right now. But make the proof, and then once it's approved, send it into print. So we've tried to automate that back end of it in the order taking, and that has made it more profitable for us to do that.
Yeah. I think with stickers, you have to be so automated. I mean, Sean, I'm sure you know that when we started printing at my old business, we only did apparel. And then the first thing we brought on for Redbubble was sticker fulfillment. And we would get like thousands. Like, I'm talking like Christmas time could be, 30,000 one-off stickers per day. And we invested a ton of money into an automation system where, Redbubble sold like small, medium, large stickers. And then as someone would transact on their business, on their website, it would connect to our API. The API would have a tag that said, hey, small, medium, or large. It would automatically size it, automatically create the cut mark, and it would send it to print.
The cut line.
Yeah, so we'd be home sleeping, and these machines are just constantly printing nonstop. And then we would come in the morning, and we actually had to take them offline, put them on a Suma cutter, and then we would cut out. They wanted like these squares, so they weren't die cut. Well, they were die cut, but it's like they had the perforated squares, and then we would just ship those out. Like, we would fulfill one sticker order, and people are like, that's insane. Like, but if you're automated, it's so profitable because your machine, whether you're printing it's the same thing as you would DTG. Whether you're printing 5 stickers for a customer or 500, the machine's going to print them at the same speed, but you could charge way more. So if you're automated, that's where your real advantage is, right? So I agree with you totally. Some shops are just like, yeah, I'm not printing 4 stickers, whereas I'd be like, yeah, I'll print 4 stickers at $6 a pop. You know what I mean? Like, why not, right? So
Yeah.
And how is that? Like, what kind of, have you created your own backend solution for the automation, or are you running like Onyx or something?
We have a system in place that's, I would say, halfway there. We're constantly working on it and researching and looking at other options as well. But yeah, it would be where we're at right now. If we could make the process from when they order their sticker to approval of it being printed, like if we can show them right online, and I know this isn't revolutionary, I know it's out there, we just don't have it yet. And if we can have it so that after they leave from buying their order, they know exactly what it's going to be, and it automates that from the acceptance of design to on the printer. That's where currently our bottleneck is.
So right now you get the order in, but after it's received, you create a proof and send it to the customer, and then you got to hope that they're going to be by their computer check it, because I'm sure sometimes you're waiting like 6 days for this guy to approve, right? So that's your challenge right now, is every single order you send in for approval.
Yeah, and usually if we don't hear back in 48 hours, then we usually try phoning them, because if we leave it like that, sometimes the next email we get from them is, hey,
where's my stickers?
Have those, where are they? Are they in the mail? Or I'm like, no, we haven't even started printing them yet. And yeah, so that's one of the challenges that we run into that we're working on right now.
I mean, Sean, you had similar struggles before when you were doing one-offs and that kind of stuff, so you've had to adopt to a more automated solution for that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we stopped doing it for like 6 months and rebuilt the whole website and just started actually back last week putting ads to where we're back selling online on our website, right? It's because we wanted to build that automation and be able to have that flow to where we could actually get a volume of orders and not pull the hair out of our heads, right? We wanted to be able to fulfill those and make it work. We don't want to be scared to be like, oh no, we're going to run ads tonight. Oh shit, we're not going to be able to produce that tomorrow. We want to be like, oh, let's run ads. Like let's get pumping. That's the goal, right? So we stopped it for 6-7 months, and finally, yeah, it was a work in progress, but anything that's worth doing is worth waiting for, right? So we waited, we tested it out, and it's finally rolled out. So now we actually have bundles. You can order online. It's pretty sweet. And then you tag in the marketing aspect, they can add to it too now because it's plugged into a Shopify store. It's just, there's so much power to it, right? So I think that's, yeah. And like, it's going back to small details of just like educating your client, right? Making a video on the product page saying like, once you approve your order and pay for it, like this is the approval process you're going to go to, right? Or just like automated email flows, all the things that are boring to do and not that fun are actually what helps you sell and have repeat customers. So creating the email flow, right? The email flow of like, okay, after he receives the sales, 2 days later, like he hasn't approved, and that's maybe is checked off in your CRM, sends an automatic email like, hey, your proof is still not approved. Make sure to approve it. Or you integrate with like something like vectorizer.ai. I don't know if you ever used it. It's insane. It's a website. It's called vectorizer.ai. You can buy the software and put an API key on your website, so your customers can actually vectorize their artwork and order it directly there with their vectorized artwork. So if they use that, then that can automatically skip their approval process. Like there's a bunch of stuff that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been fun for sure.
I bet. Yeah. And just, yeah, I'm sure it was quite the process too in that 6 months. So rewarding when you get to the point where it works really well, right? So
that's what you have to see every night when it's not there, it's not published. You have to look at the end goal and be like, hey, it's going to come, right?
Yeah.
But talking about that, there's another thing that I think Zach told me and I was baffled by it. It's like, you guys pretty much started your Instagram page in May and you already have over 20K followers. Like what's the secret sauce for growth? What type of content does your audience relate to? What did they like? What's like, how did you do it? That's last May. That's like 6 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
So it was, I keep a list in my phone and I just keep tracking. It's every 20th of the month I go and update it. And when I look back at May 20th, we had 770 followers. So it wasn't a brand new page at the time, but there wasn't much going on there. We didn't post regularly. We didn't like, there was just, because whenever I had time or was thinking about it, something would happen. And honestly, a lot of those followers probably came from just our ads that were running on Meta, right? So what I started doing, it was a bit of an experiment. I mean, it still is, but I started making sped up videos of the process in the shop. In fact, I don't think I really talked on a video until a month or two in, maybe. I'm not sure. Talking with a couple other people that were running some Instagram pages, they're like, you gotta post every day, try to make it at the same time, and try some of these different things. And some of those things was like speed it up. And the stuff that you think people care about, they don't. Like an intro to a video, absolutely not. Like just there has to be something that startles the viewer in the first like split second. So like if I'm laminating something, you'll see me like slap the leaderboard down. I obviously don't do that when we're actually
Yeah.
laminating stuff, but it catches you as you're scrolling by. You have that just that couple frames while you're trying somebody's scrolling past to catch them. And so either bright lights, colorful stuff, or noise, and you just get straight into it and make the process. Now, I do have to. I'm going to work on trying to modify what we're doing in the videos because right now I feel like I could sell more equipment than stickers from. So
Yeah.
everyone's like, "What laminator is that? What printer is that? Where do I buy one? What's the price?" And I'm like, "I
Send
don't
them
know.
this
I
way,
don't
straight to
either."
RB, baby.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's partially why we wanted to start working with RB Digital. Is for one, you noticed it. You're the only one of our suppliers that reached out when we said we were going to the print show, and like you're seeing that traction and of what we're doing there. So I would say like currently right now we're about 1,000 followers a week that we're seeing. Um, and yeah, and it honestly didn't take a lot of time to build some traction there. It was posting every day. I think the first one that really took off was like the seventh day, maybe the ninth day. And yeah, and then you'd have like similar videos that were just slightly different, and one would skyrocket, one would absolutely tank, and yeah, it's been kind of an interesting little experiment trying to figure out, well, why did that one do well, or why does this one suck, or and what is it accomplishing too, and so my basic goal of just starting and growing a following was for people to buy from you, they have to know, like, and trust you. And I can't go and meet all of our customers in the e-commerce world, right? So for them to see the same person show up and do the same kind of stuff daily builds a bit of credibility as to, okay, well, if I do put in an order, they are going to do it, unless we're at
Yeah,
a
yeah.
print show and
It's
falling
a
behind.
legitimate company. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
It's
I mean, it's pretty simple on that end for what we've done so far, but it's a constant learning curve for sure, which I like. If I'm not learning something, I get bored and inefficient.
yeah. I think you nailed it on the head. One of the most consistent things, one of the most important things is consistency, right? That's part of my routine. Like every night when I go to bed, I basically skim through my feed. I see who tagged us. I repost some. I'll look at my suppliers, see what new machines are coming in, and I repost it. And you'd be surprised. Like I post the new Mamaki DTF, and I got 18, 20 people like, oh, the 62-inch model's out, great, send me pricing. It doesn't take that long. I mean, I probably spend half an hour every night, but I do it every night. If you were to look at how much time you put in and how do you kind of structure, like Sean used to have a strategy. He would have a company come in once a month and they would shoot. He has like 3 different businesses and they would shoot literally like 90 videos in like a day, and he would make enough content to have one video, short video per day per business. Are you kind of doing that same thing where you're like, hey, today's like filming day, or are you just trying to do a little bit at a time and just post that? Like, kind of what's your consistency strategy?
Currently, right now, since you don't see a lot of it getting printed, it's because I'll come in 2.5 hours earlier than the shop opens, and I'm gonna grab stuff that was printed yesterday and run it through the rest of it. And that's what I'm doing right now, which is like kind of the minimum that I could be doing right now. So, uh, the way you're talking about
Yeah.
actually like planning it out to schedule it to spend the day making those 90 pieces of content, I think that has really good traction with the audience because you can plan out a little better who you're trying to target. Where I'm seeing some traction right now is people will be more willing to put their order in if they know they're going to see it and get tagged in it
Yeah.
when it's getting made, right? So that's partially what's driving the sales from the Instagram side of things, aside from paid ads. But
Yeah. I mean,
everything we're doing for posts it's completely organic. I actually couldn't boost a post for like the last 2 years. I don't know why, but my promotions were disabled. So I was like, all right, well, we're just gonna do this like everyone
yeah,
else does on Instagram without a business account. And then
that's
just one
hilarious.
day, a couple weeks ago, it was like, yeah, you're good. That's fine.
Yeah,
You're
you're
not a
real.
problem.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's so funny. I mean, Sean, like, he's so involved in so many different aspects of his business. Like, Sean, you've realized, like, you don't create the framework from your videos, right? Like, you let the company that you work for say, hey, this is what's going on. Here's some ideas. And then they basically give you like, not a script, but like, hey, this is what each video is going to be. And then you just like freestyle it right on the spot.
Yeah, it was more they came in and I just freestyled my whole way through. I mean, that's something that I was lucky with to be able to do that in front of the camera and not be shy or anything like that. So that was what we were doing when we had online sales, and now that it's back up, we're going to start doing the same thing, except it's just going to be more. We have a full-time media guy here now, so it's going to be doing it in-house. We pretty much learned how to do it, so why not do it in-house and be able to do it once a week, twice a week, instead of doing it once a month, where I felt like at the end of the day, I was pretty much just saying stuff to say stuff. It wasn't really interesting anymore, right? Because I had to do 90 videos. As to now, it's like it's a lot easier. We can go in the shop, something's printing, and I can just, hey guys, here's how we do this, here's how we do that. I think last week we came out with like we had a mixed media. We were doing DTG and embroidery on a hoodie, and it looked like a really nice, sporty and rich crew neck. The guy like it was for a golf club, and I just did a video showcasing like what it is, and we got like 38,000 views on Facebook, 40,000 views on TikTok, and like 12,000 views on Instagram. It
Yeah.
was just like it was there. It took us 15 minutes to do pretty much, but I just show what we were doing, right? So I think that's the best part of like having a media team here in house and being able to do that now.
Yeah. And you know, again, it's like you try and come up with, something to grasp people's attention. Like I think it was like last night, I was like literally scrolling through Instagram, and there's a sponsored ad, and it starts off with like a woman, and she's like, "This is why I will never buy another Gordon Ramsay's hex clad pan." I'm like, shit, I thought those were
You
good. And
listen
she's
to it.
like, yeah, and she's like, they last forever. It's like you'll never need to buy one. It never scratches. The coating never comes off. But like literally, if it was a Gordon Ramsay's, I'd be like, "Hi here, this is Gordon Ramsay, and I'm here to show you my new pad." You'd be like, "Skip." But this chick's like, you think, "Oh, she's about to slam Gordon Ramsay," and then you're like, "Wait a second." So I thought about that right away. Like I emailed Rob the ad, and I'm like, "Hey Rob, we got to do a video like." This is why I'll never buy another embroidery machine from RB Digital, and then be like, it's a Tajima, last 25 years. You know what I mean? So I saw that, and right away I said
Yeah.
we have to make content around it. So it's yeah, just getting that like that attention from your customer, whatever it is, like you said, colorful, or you don't want to do flashing lights, you don't want people to start getting seizures everywhere. But yeah, you got to try and
Yeah.
do something that gets their attention.
And again, it's hard when you're trying to do like ads versus just natural content, right? Because when you're doing just natural content, you're posting online, you're not going to boost with ads. You want people to actually share it. So you got to give away like free information, got to give knowledge. People are either going to watch it because it's educational, you're going to learn something from it, right? Or it's entertaining, or it's satisfying. So you look at the videos of like people just installing stickers and things like that. They just watch it because it's interesting, right? It's satisfying to watch. Then you watch videos of somebody telling you how they're doing their screen printing. Then it's interesting to watch because you're learning something. Or the other one is just like, it's funny, right? I'm going to watch a video because it's just plain funny, right? So you always have to have the hook, but then the reason why people are staying, it's either one of those three. So if you can be creative with that, I think that's where it really works. But
Yeah, totally.
yeah,
I mean, that's how we came in contact. Like, I'm sure at some point it was a recommended ad, or whether it was an ad or just a post popped up, and I just see you running these. I'm like, oh, cool. This looks like, a cool shop. And I click it, and you're like, oh, he's in Canada. And I just start shooting the shit sometimes, like, yo, what media are you running? And, what this and what that? And I'm watching it, I'm learning, and I'm like, and then eventually I saw, like you said, you posted at Printing United, and you're like, yeah, like, we're down Printing United. I'm like, awesome. Like, now's my chance to meet him. And I kind of hit him up, and, we hit it off pretty well. And I think sometimes using social media, not only to sell your product, but also to get an audience, it's important. In sales, you have to always think of creative ways to, to pick up customers. I mean, not this Printing United. Sorry, it was 2 Long Beaches ago. I'm walking by the DTF booth, and there's like a guy in the States who's talking about his DTF machine. And like, this guy's no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, dude, you were probably selling lawnmowers last week, because like I'm listening to everything, and it's just like, it's complete garbage coming out of your mouth. And then I hear him like talking to this customer, and the customer's like intrigued. He's like, oh, wow, okay, really cool. And I remember I literally, I saw it said like Canada, like on his name tag. So I took my phone and I zoomed in and I took a screenshot, and then I texted it to myself. And then the next day I'm on the plane, and I looked up the guy's business, and I hit him up. I forget the name of the company. They're in the Maritimes. They've become huge customers of ours, like multiple pieces of equipment. And I'm like, hey, dude, I know this is really creepy, but when you were talking to like the sales guy, I took a picture and I found your number. And I don't know if you're still in California, but like, I'd love to touch base because we're very strong in DTF. I think we could be good partners. And like, that little strategy, I don't even know how many hundreds of thousands. Like, I'm talking, he's bought embroidery, he's bought DTG, multiple DTFs, UV DTF. He's become a really, really good customer, right? And sometimes you just got to look for opportunities. You got to be, always on the hunt for your next customer. And I'm sure you've I'm sure acquired customers through maybe seeing their pages and hitting them up and saying, hey, we do stickers and this is what we do. So, but yeah, so we met up at Printing United, and we kind of chatted a little bit. And, I kind of got you up to speed with some new technologies and what was going on. And one of the technologies that you've showed a lot of interest in is Mamaki's, brand new UCJV 330, 130, which is their new really fast UV printer, which is basically like 70% faster than their old one. Why? And you're contemplating on bringing this in. Why have you decided that maybe you want to bring in UV technology? Maybe dive in. Not everyone that listens to us in the wide format space, they might be sticker customers, screen printers or embroiderers. So you're running Roland eco-solvent machines. Maybe talk a little bit about what the capabilities of solvent are and why you want to bring in UV. And what do you think that machine will be able to now allow you to offer to your customers? I think it's very good for customers to understand the difference between solvent and UV. Obviously, there's latex, resin, which is what Epson calls it, and all that kind of stuff. But why do you think UV is kind of a next step for you?
Yeah, so like you said, we're running the eco-solvent style roll-to-roll wide format, and that works great. We've been doing that since the beginning, and the durability of the eco-solvent, especially with laminated, like it's pretty hard to beat in any sort of printing vinyl world, right? So but there's also the time to gas off, and traditionally the gas off that happens with an eco-solvent is around 24 hours. We're trying to turn stuff around fairly quick. The printer that we're using it shrunk that down to 6 hours, but still, it's something that we can't, unless we print it first thing in the morning, we can't laminate it the same day and get it shipped out. Now, also, you're kind of limited when you want to use white ink. The printer we have, it is capable of doing white ink. We've never done it with white ink. We've never converted it over because of the maintenance, as well as the coverage isn't there in the eco-solvent. So if we were to make a clear sticker, which we do offer, but usually when someone orders it, we're like, I don't know if you really want that. I mean, maybe you do, but if we're going to give it to you, you probably don't want it.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to lay down a white base of the artwork and then lay the color down. And in the eco-solvent world, from what I've learned and seen, is you might have to lay down 2 layers, or the coverage isn't going to be great, which makes it very time consuming. And we don't charge more for those stickers than the ones that are on white vinyl. So a lot of our customers will just move that same order over to the white vinyl, and they're happy with that. But the ability to use UV to lay down white ink, it's a lot more, it just becomes a lot better process and product, right?
Sure.
Now, we're going to lose some durability on that if it's not laminated, but how long do you want a sticker to last?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's where what we're doing with eco-solvent is far surpassing where anybody really thought their $1 sticker was going to take them, right? So that coupled with the ability to not have to off gas, as well as now we can add spot finishes and start to add a few more, which makes it a little more of a niche product in the end, and is challenging to try to communicate that to the customer in the buying process. But if we can figure out those challenges and make it user friendly, that gives us a chance to be one step ahead of the guys that are doing the same thing that we're doing. So I think the shortened time to getting it in the mail, the ability to print well on clear vinyl, and then the added ability to change the finishes and add layers to the print. Those 3 things are what draws us to adding the Mamaki to our lineup.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think one of the most enticing features that people like is the ability to stack the ink. So, Sean, I don't know if you remember, for Christmas, we always give out a wine bottle. And this year, what we did was we actually took a gold metallic vinyl, and then we printed on top of that, and we printed it so that all the text was raised, and it had snowflakes on it, and all the snowflakes were actually printed with clear. So with UV, you could actually stack, because the way it works is as it's printing, the light instantly cures and you keep printing on top of it. So you can now have this really cool 3-dimensional sticker that you could charge a big premium on and then print clear. So you could do these really cool effects. Like imagine you want to do a black sticker. You know, screen printing, how people do like black on black, it's kind of like super subtle. You could do black with like a clear. It's a really, really cool effect. So that's one of the biggest ones. Second is ink cost. It's much cheaper to run the UV ink than it is the solvent. And the third one is the ability to print inverted, especially if you're a sign shop. So, for example, you could print a sticker on like a window cling, and on the front it'll say like, "Hi, welcome," blah blah blah, and then on the back it'll say, "Thanks for shopping, have a great day." So basically, you're printing the front image, you're curing it, and then on the back side of the ink, you're printing the other image. So you're doing it in one pass, basically. You're printing it, and then you're printing the second one. That's a huge thing. If you look at like, for example, like an Evian water bottle or something like that, it's a clear bottle, and not Evian. What's the company that does the
Smart Water?
Yes, there's one with like a palm tree. It's like a Hawaiian palm tree. It's like $7 a bottle. Anyways, so if you see those, Fiji. So you print the front, and then on the back, you could actually, because the bottle's clear, you could read all the instructions. So those are things that you can do with UV technology, right? So I'd say that those are some of like the really, really cool things that you could bring in. And like you said, there's a lot of competitors in the sticker space. So what can I offer that's going to differentiate me and charge more? Because in all honesty, like, printing the clear, it's not like it's going to add, even 2% or 3% increase in cost. But now you could charge double the price of the sticker for that, right? I mean, the orientation that you were looking at, was it the double CMYK white and clear? Sorry, or CMYK white and clear, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you could run the machine. That's the cool thing about these machines, and everyone has different needs. So if you're like, hey, all I'm doing is printing car wraps, you would just run a double CMYK because it's going to be faster.
Right.
But if you want to have that flexibility to kind of do a little bit of everything, then that's when you're going to want that. Yeah, that's like the new hot thing is roll to roll UV, and Mamaki was the first company to bring that to market. UV has always been one of Mamaki's strong points. They released something. They own 66% of the flatbed UV market in the world, and there's a lot of manufacturers. So that's one thing that Mamaki's always done a really, really good job on. So
Yeah, and a big point that you made there was that what draws us to it is, even though you're doing layers of different print, it's not like it prints the first layer, then pulls it back in the machine, prints the next one, right? Like you're not losing that time. Whereas if we had to do that with our eco-solvent, it's gonna print the white, go back in, do it again. You can't charge much more for that, and it's like triple the time.
Yeah.
Never mind that the Mamaki or just UV printer in general is faster, right? Like, 'cause there's one from Roland that we looked at as well. It seems like a great machine as well. We are running a Roland now, so we're kind of familiar with the software and whatnot. But I don't know. I don't know if it was just that Mamaki was printing way cooler stuff in their booth. You really saw the capability of the machines.
Yeah. I mean, I had a client that I just got back to today from Niagara, and they're really big in the souvenir space. And they print these they're like license plates, but they're like plastic, kind of like a sticker. And right now they only have solvent. So they're basically, printing on one side, and they're trying to replicate what is being done overseas. So for them to do it, they'd have to print on one side, but then the actual souvenir shop needs a print on the backside with the item and the barcode so they can scan it. So like right now, they would essentially need to like print one side, then print like a sticker, cut it out, and like put it perfectly on top. Whereas right now, they'd be able to just buy a clear film and just print both sides, and boom, it's done. All the labor's gone, right?
Yeah.
So there's some really unique applications if you kind of you have to think outside the box. You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to, or outside the roll.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I know you're looking to get into the Milwaukee TXF 300 DTF machines. I mean, we have 5 running right now, looking to add 2 more for the big season, and we've been super successful with those machines. But I mean, your market is completely different, right? We're servicing a market to where it's print on demand, it's t-shirts, it's apparel. How are you going to market this to what's the strategy? How are you going to market this to your clients?
Yeah, no, we're totally coming for you. No.
No, it's just like your clients that you have right now are not the same type of clients, right? Like for me to buy a screen printing press in DTF makes sense because I sell custom apparel. So that's more like the question. Like, what's the market? How are you going to go get it? What's the goal?
Yeah, so where it kind of differs is we're not going to be bringing in apparel, right? We're not going to be doing a finished goods like that. So with some of our existing customers we have right now, they are buying DTF transfers because a lot of them are promotional companies that provide promotional products. So they're the ones doing the apparel. They're the ones with the heat press. So it just we're able to take our existing customers and start to raise the average order value in a month from them, as well as the frequencies. They're around here, they're kind of screaming for a solution that they don't have to order from 6 hours away or further. And when we're looking at it, considering what our overhead costs are and what the market can bear for what we can sell just the transfers for. It makes a pretty good case there for being able to add it as although it's at first glance, it seems like it has nothing to do with stickers. And it kind of doesn't. But when you step back a little bit further, our business is taking material on a roll, printing a product, and then putting it in a box and shipping it. So if we can add a line that's very similar to that, we're going to have the film go through, we're going to print the artwork, it's going to go onto a gang sheet, and then that's going to make its way into shipping and out to the customer. Or, a lot of the customers that I've talked to about this, about starting it to kind of hit the ground running, they are all just local. They're going to come to the shop and pick it up. It's something that is very similar to what we're doing manufacturing process wise, that we can add in as a kind of a parallel product line to run with the sticker line as well. And I feel
Makes
that's going
sense.
to help us also grow the sticker line as well. Being able to add that, both of those together, we're going to be able to use more equipment and push more product as we move our way through.
Yeah. Like you said, the workflow is pretty much the same. We've had clients like Sticker Use, a great account of ours, and they started doing stickers, and they brought on DTF with us, and it's like the same flow, right? And vice versa. We had him on here. He had 42 DTF machines, and he literally just bought the same one you're looking at, the Bamaki UCJB 330-130. We finished the install today. He saw it at the show. He bought it.
Right.
Because to your point, he's like, it's the same thing I'm doing. I'm printing on a roll, and I'm shipping it to customers. It was funny because, Kenny, I had a heat press on there, right? I'm like, I've never sold a Mamaki to someone without a heat press. And he's just like, no, man, I don't need the heat press. I'm like, what do you mean? You're not going to press? He's like, no, too much labor. I'm just going to print it and ship the transfers, and that's it. So he's not going to have a heat press in there. But, to your point, too, you're tight on space. You don't have the luxury of having a 5,000 square foot, or 2,000 square foot space with boxes from floor to ceiling, right? So it's just a different, business model. And I think it pairs very well with stickers.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also something I have to consider in the very beginning as well is the customers that are going to pay me day one of production. If I end up making the garments and doing the heat pressing myself, all of a sudden I'm in business against them, right beside them, right? Whereas
Yes.
I'd like to keep them as a customer buying the part that I want to do anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. We have clients all the time that ask us, like, hey, you guys have all the equipment, RB Digital. Like, why don't you sell DTF transfers? Why don't you sell embroidery patches? Why don't you? And, we have competitors in the market that do that. They sell, the twill, but then they also sell the twill patches. And then, it's like they sell the vinyl, but then they sell the printed, transfers. And I'm like, we have well over 10 active customers annually. And I know if I said, hey, I'm offering DTF transfers, boom, like I'm going to need like 30 machines overnight. The only problem is I'm going to piss off all my customers that have worked so hard to, kind of grow their business. So I definitely see your stance on that by saying like, we just want to offer the service. We want to let them do their thing and make their money. And I think people respect that. I think that if you did potentially decide to do the heat pressing house, you might lose some customers. They might say like, oh, forget this guy. I'm competing with him now. I'm not going to be supporting him, right? So it's, definitely, I guess you have to tread lightly sometimes, Sometimes you look at certain things and you're like, if I add this to my business, it'd be so easy and I'd make so much more money. But then there's that whole like moral and ethics point of view that you need to take a look at and be like, is this the right thing for my current customer base? Am I bringing something to market that's going to make everybody happy, or am I going to, piss off a bunch of my customers that helped me get here to begin with, help me make the money to buy these machines? So yeah, I guess you definitely realize that.
I think like the ethical, moral side of it, in the long run, grows your business more anyways.
Totally.
Right? It's I think that seeing that there's more in the market in what you're doing, like say if we were offering transfers and then we're like, you know what, I'm watching my customers make more money on whatever I sell them, then and if I jump in business against them, yeah, there'll be a flash in the pan of cash, but now you got to fill that void of the people you pissed off, right?
Yeah. I mean, it'd be
There's that, yeah, there's that, but there's also the fact that there's unknown optimism when you look at a business that you're not doing,
For
right? So
sure.
you might be looking at the business and be like, "Hi, we could start doing transfers tomorrow morning." But like there's a lot of shit that we don't see in the back end, like problems and things like that, that we're just looking at it and we're like, "Oh my gosh, I would jump into this, I make money." I agree. But right now, the fact that you're offering stickers makes you good because you're focused on stickers, right? The guy who's installing the graphics, like the apparel, he's good because that's what he's focused on. Like if Zach started doing DTF transfers, he'd have to focus to learn all the fucking equipment he sells, all the supplies he sells, plus learn how to do DTF and sell it and be good at that and do customer service. So now how do you want him to compete with We Must when all they're focused on is doing DTF transfers? So I feel
Mhm.
like maybe some of his customers would be pissed off, but at the end of the day, I feel like he would lose that side of the business because the service would just not be as good as We Must. That's just focused on that,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there's a side of like ethics, I agree, but then like business or business for everybody, right? I can go online and just be like, hey, you know what? I offer DTF transfers now. And like to be honest, if Zach did that as RB, I would be like, hey, awesome for you guys. Like that's my thinking, right? There's business for everybody. So maybe there's a side of ethics, but there's also a side like, hey, I can also put bread on my table. In my mind, I'd be like, hey, it's not the right move. I think you should focus on the equipment and everything because you know what? Running a DTF company is fucking complicated if you just focus on that. So
Yeah.
that's more what I think, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you know what? Printing stickers, printing DTF, that's what you guys are good at. Like that's what you said, right? Printing on a roll, cutting it, and shipping it out. So I think like you focusing on that is the reason why you should stick to that because the market online is so massive
Yeah.
that your customer is probably not going to be pissed off if you start offering apparel, right? It's like he's just gonna be like, oh, awesome for you. I'm gonna still keep the same clients I have, right?
Yeah.
It's so at the end of the day, I think it's just like you're good at doing what you're doing, and I think offering what you offer makes you good because it's your niche. But
Yes.
if you start going outsourcing because he's like he's making good money, I want to do that. It's unknown optimism still until you do it, and you're like, fuck, it's complicated too, right? There's
Yeah.
always like every business
Uh,
is hard.
It's that like entrepreneurial optimism will get you every time.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a flip side to that. I have clients that I've sold machines to, and then they're like, I know how to run the machine. I'm going to import some machines and sell them to other people. And then they're like, oh, I'll sell it, 15% cheaper. And these customers end up calling me like, hey, I bought this printer from a client of yours. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. How's that going? Well, we don't know how to use it. Can you come in and install it? I'm like, yeah, sure, but it's going to cost you $4,000 now. You know what I mean? And there's no warranty. It's the same thing. Like you think just because you know how to run a DTF means that you know how to, start selling it and have technicians and a supply chain that's going to keep everybody with product that'll get them through Christmas. Like it's a shit show. I mean, we have 5 years of forecasting on consumables and we're still constantly air freighting. Like I'm talking every month, 4, 5, 6 pallets from Korea or China, spending 5,500 US per pallet. We lose money when we sell those films, but I got to keep my customers running. That's my top priority. So
Yeah.
if you're, Joe Schmo and you just want to start selling printers, like how are you going to get that support, right? Everyone thinks it's much easier. It's, like you said, the
I would-
entrepreneurial optimism often bites you. And then afterwards, you have that guy you sold the machine to, and now they hate your guts because you don't even know how to fix the machine because when your machine breaks, I come and fix it, So it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, this whole crazy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
That's
that's
part of business.
that
Yeah.
when you look at like the machines that we have bought and who we buy them from, it's always been a big part of the decision has been what's that service going to look like and the knowledge. And however big the companies is, that's never really mattered to me, right? In fact, I've had suppliers that I've liked to work with, and I've just been watching them get gobbled up by a big one. I'm like, yeah, now I got to find a different one. And then, 6 months later, they get bought out by the same place. I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so that kind of brings me back to why we went down to the print show. Is when I talk to the suppliers, they're like, I say, well, what machine should we be looking at? They're like, well, we sell this. I'm like, well, that's great. Is that the right one? Well, but we can sell it to you tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should go look at manufacturers and spend some time looking at it ourselves and make that kind of decision and then go from there, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we used to only sell Mamaki and Epson, and we recently brought on Roland, and it's doing very well for us right out the gate. And people ask like,
Bless you.
why bring on Roland? They have the same machines. Well, every customer has specific needs, and maybe Roland's running a promo one month that's crazy, and Mamaki and Epson can't touch it. So, we're trying to offer the gold standard equipment. We've had some other wide format manufacturers that we worked with that I'm not going to name, and these things were complete pieces of junk. They're pretty big names, and we put them out, and it's like nonstop problems. And then, sure, you can make money on it, but it's not worth the headaches for myself or my customers, so we shy away. But I think giving customers choice is important. And I think what's going on in Canada and US, the choice of who you work with is starting to disappear because, to your point, you have some of these larger companies that are going around buying up those small companies. Those small companies were started, husband and wife or father and 3 kids, and it was their life. They were entrepreneurs. They had an entrepreneurial spirit. Kenny messaged me 11:45 p.m. and I'm answering within seconds. Or he's like, "Hey, need to revise the quote." And I'm like, "All right, I just finished dinner. Boom, let me bang that off for you." Do you think someone that was acquired by another company is still going to have that entrepreneurial spirit? That's gone. Your ability to pick up the phone and say like, "Hey, can you walk me through this?" That doesn't exist anymore. You want to go pick up some media? It's like going into Area 51. You have to do like 48 hours in advance, get cleared. It's like, dude, I just want to pick up my ink. I got a rush job. I want to call in, pick it up, and boom, come grab it. So there's been a shift in the market, and it's not just in Canada. It's happening in the States at a way more aggressive rate where these small companies are being gobbled up. And what's happening is every time they gobble up that that other supplier, they lose a lot of their clients. There was like some stat was talking about acquisitions, and it was basically saying when these companies get bought up, they lose sometimes like 30% of their client base. And I see it because when these acquisitions happen, all of a sudden, boom, within 6 months, we got a big bump in that space, right? And it's just people want choice. People want to have choice and feel like they're not talking like their business partner is not a machine. It's a human being that cares about your business, that knows, hey, I'm dealing with some struggles right now. I need some help on a payment, or can you send someone out immediately? I'm down. And that kind of intimate relationship with suppliers, I think, is being lost, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's something that we're seeing everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean it's encouraging for me to hear that you're bringing on Roland. I do really like their machines. I looked it up, it was 2018 is when we bought it, and all I've changed on it is consumables. I've never had, and I have crashed that print head a few times.
Yeah.
But it's been great. So you're also bringing on these good manufacturers to offer those options, right? And have some good support behind it. Yeah, it's good to see. So
Think it's hard for any business that's growing, right? Whether they're getting acquired or not. As soon as you start growing, and I think RB is doing a great job. Like, how many employees do you guys have right now, RB?
Close to 100. I hired 3 people that are starting this month in Ontario. More techs and more an ops manager. It's been, I mean, when I
That's hard.
started, oh, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, when we started, this location had maybe 5, and now we're probably, 25, something like that, just out of Ontario. And we've had the same growth everywhere. And it's not just personnel. It's like, we just took on another big space in Montreal. We added more in Winnipeg. The Edmonton lease is going to be ending soon, and we're going to expand there as well. We hired, I think, 2 new techs in Edmonton this month. We hired a couple in Vancouver. Like it's one of those things that it gets scary because we have Mamakis flying out like crazy and DTG machines flying out like crazy, and it's like it's great to get the sales, but you need the infrastructure to support. And that's one thing that, for example, most of the people that sell Epsons, they don't do the installation training and support. That gets outsourced to another company. Whereas and same thing with R. That's why we literally became exclusive with M&R. They had 5 dealers in Canada. We were the only ones that would install, teach you how to screen print, and do service. Nobody else did that. But that's our commitment to our customers. We don't make money on technicians. People think, oh, charging $130 an hour. It's like, dude, first of all, in the US, they're charging like 175 USD per hour, even for a phone call. We don't make money on techs. That's a lost leader for us. But that's what gives our customers the comfort of saying like, hey, these guys got me. They have 6 locations. They're national. And they don't have just one guy. If you have 1 or 2 techs and you lose them, you're dead. You know what I mean? So like if you think about like 25% of our headcount almost is technicians, which is crazy, right? To have that many people in the field. And we fly these guys to, the US, into Europe. We bring people here to train. It's a big expense to get technicians up to speed. We invest heavily in our technicians. It's a long process. You come in and you just focus on, let's say, Mamaki DTF, and like that's all you're going to do because we have a lot of volume in that. And then, okay, after 6 months, it's like, all right, let's get you into the wide format. It's a process. And that's why we have to be very careful when we hire technicians, because it's a big investment on our side and we need to make sure we keep the techs. So if we have a guy who's like, yeah, I want to become a technician, and in like 3 or 4 years from now, I probably want to get into plumbing, which happened to us once. A guy left and became a plumber. Good for him. But like, I spent 2 years training you, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge pain in the ass for me. So we hire really slow. We like hiring people who are very experienced. Like we've brought in a guy, David Fisher from South Africa, 27 years. We brought Sameh from like Egypt, 25 years. It's a big process to bring these guys over, but they're like the best of the best, right? So that's our competitive advantage at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right?
And how do you I think it's for us, like even we've seen the growth in the last 8 years with like the apparel side, right? And we've seen the growth go from like I can offer everything because I'm a one-stop shop and I just want to make living, right? Put bread on my table. So I'm going to offer everything, names and numbers on the back, to growing a bit to having a team where it's more volume, and then growing a bit even bigger to where I'm like, okay, I can't do these one-offs anymore. I can't do names and numbers in the back because I want to have service. So you start losing clients and then you gain them back by offering other things, and then you grow as a business. Like it's always a crunch up of like, okay, what can I offer? All right, we can offer more again. So I think if you're a small business out there, you can take advantage of like being small, right? That's kind of like your niche market. And then when you grow, there's going to be growing pains. You're going to lose some customers, but you're going to gain more. And like, I think RB, you guys been done a great job by scaling and being able to still deliver service. Like we're on the phone often because we have a lot of equipment, right? Hey, how does this running? Oh, this thing is down. And we always get tech in like 1 or 2 days. It's pretty insane. So
Yeah. We try and do as much of it over the phone as we can. When you have reliable equipment, Japanese made or made in the States, generally a lot of these things are plug and play, so we could troubleshoot over the phone. So we try and go that route first. And if not, we got to get a tech out there. Like there's been times where we've set up a DTF machine. We fly into Newfoundland to install it. We fly back and the guy's like, oh shit, I'm having a problem. It's like, okay, well, we're going to fly back out there. And we eat that. We eat that flight, that hotel, right? That's part of our bumper to bumper warranty, But yeah, it's just something you got to do. You got to be willing to, take those calls. And, people always ask like, oh, I'm going to have problems with this machine. Every machine, doesn't matter what I say, yeah, probably. And like, what do you mean? I'm like, if there was no problems with machines, I would not be in business. Mamaki would sell direct. M&R would sell direct because you buy a machine and you have no issues.
100%.
I'm here because machines break. Anybody that tells you, I don't care what machine it is, literally, I don't care what machine. If anybody tells you you're never going to have problems, they're absolutely full of shit because everything breaks. If you don't use it, if you use your laser once a year, you'll probably never need to call us in again. But if you're pounding that thing day in, day out, yeah, your mirrors are going to get dirty. You're not going to notice. You're going to burn have to change a glass tube or something. Machines break. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go back to like sharing secrets. I think this is fun because we talk about a lot of stuff about businesses and like Zach, you shared a lot of knowledge on like the growth of RP, and I think it's super insightful, especially for me like right now where we are. But Kenny, going back to you, you share a lot of secrets and like processes of like what you do and how to save time, especially in your videos. Do you feel like the industry is super secretive, right? Where like do you find that the marketing content is generating business for you, or is it more for people that are print shops? Do you want to change that? How's that going?
Yes. Yeah, I've never really been one to hold all the cards close to the chest. Um, I always think back to a quote from, and I'll probably mess it up, but it's Zig Ziglar from years ago, and basically he says, um, you can have everything you want in life if you can help enough other people get what they want, right? So there's nothing revolutionary of what we're doing. It wasn't hard to learn. And if I can help someone get that much further in their learning journey now, they trust what I'm saying. They actually, some people are calling me an expert. I'm far from it. It's all been fairly self-taught. And but I don't mind sharing that because, so for example, with the Instagram reels that are showing a lot of it, we actually picked up a franchised customer out of Baton Rouge that is a sign shop, and we print their stickers now. And he says, yeah, like we just found you in the explore function in Instagram. I've been watching your videos, and I don't like doing stickers. So he's like, I'm just gonna send my orders through you if we can figure out how to ship it properly. And it's like, yeah, sounds great, because he's doing these
Awesome.
big neon signs and like Starbucks signs. I'm like, I'm never doing that. So that's totally cool. And yeah, and then other people or other shops will ask some questions, and I'll make a video of exactly the problem that they're having and send it to them. They're like, wow, I can't believe you did that. I was like, well, I'll probably need your help at one time or another. And it's happened. There's a shop down in Texas that I've been in contact quite a bit with, that he has experience in areas that I'm not in yet, and I'm going there. And I'm like, hey, can you share your costs? And like he's into some of the DTF stuff. And he's like, this is exactly what it is. This is what the cost is. This is what we're seeing. Make sure you ask these questions. And all because I helped him run his cutter and his printer that he has that's very similar to ours. And at the end of the day, we're both going to end up doing more business because of it. And yeah, it's just wanting to give back to the industry, and because it's going to give back to me as well. So that's always kind of been my thought of it. I used to be, with the other business I was in, a tech incubator, and you'd run into people and they're like super secretive about their idea. And I'm like,
Yeah.
an idea's a dime a dozen. It's how you execute it that makes it work and makes you money and makes you succeed and grow. So there's lots
It
of
feels
great.
good to do it.
So yeah.
No, I think it's fun to share. It's fun to help other people.
Hmm.
So besides new equipment and new processes, what's on the horizon for steam engine stickers, like to continue to scale the business? What's the future looking like?
I'm thinking that the DTF side of things, adding that in, that's gonna be taxing on us to
Yep.
figure out all the details. And I would say in the next 6 months, we're going to be trying to refine our process as much as we can in the back end, so that it helps build that platform as we scale. Because it's scary to scale and not know what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
It
So
won't go good either, right? So yeah, so I think the next 6 months we're going to be learning some new equipment,
The video
and
series.
that's
So
right.
he wanted to make a video series, with what it's like for a sticker shop to transition into DTF with the Mamaki. So that's something
Right.
else.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we're looking forward to that and I think it's going to help that industry grab traction as to, okay, well, this guy had no idea what he was doing with DTF, and we watched this process right from the start to rolls of product going out the door. It becomes less daunting of a challenge for everyone else out there that wants to try and do the same thing.
Yeah. Totally.
I think that's fun. I'm excited to watch from the outside for sure.
He'll have his hands full, and it's a little more pressure on me. I got 20,000 eyes watching the Mamaki install go through, so everything's got to be in tip-top
Exactly.
shape. But I'm used to the pressure. We got, we've done some stuff with Lee Stewart, and he's super active, and he's got a lot of customers following him. But hey, if I was not confident with the technology, like if I didn't know that the Tajima will go in there and kick ass, I would not sell to him because that's a headache waiting to happen, right? But he put the machines in, and he's killing it, and he's scaling, and I'm fortunate that I get to sell equipment that I believe in. I think we talked about this yesterday, Kenny, right?
Yes.
I would hate to, when I first sold DTF, the Chinese machines, this was my pitch. I'd say, look, this is new technology, okay? It's not going to go smooth. I'm telling you, it's not going to go smooth. But these things print money. And when they're running, you're going to make a lot of it. And when it's down, I'm there to support you. But it's not going to be easy. And I had clients that had 3, 4, 5 of those Chinese machines, and they're still running them today. But luckily, Mamaki's at a point now where you could say, hey, you're locked and loaded. You're pretty good. Again, is something going to break? Of course it is. Something's always going to happen, whether it's your fault or a software glitch or a firmware update that didn't go well, and now you got ink spilling everywhere. These things happen, but at least Kenny knows, hey, I can pick up the phone and call Kevin Perron, which is our new Edmonton sales manager. He used to work with you, right, Sean? He would go out there sometimes,
Yeah.
Kevin?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's
So
fun. He's a good dude.
I shipped him out to Edmonton, and he's doing a great job there. He's tearing it up. And if Kevin doesn't answer, Kenny calls me. I call Kevin. I blast Kevin Perron, and he's over at Kenny's next morning. That's what it is. So awesome. Anyways, this has been a great conversation. Thanks for joining, Kenny. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, first sticker shop, and we're excited to see what you do with this product. And you got a lot of decisions to make. Like, are we going to cut these transfers in-house, or are we only going to ship in rolls? And how much work can I take? And am I going to need a second machine 3 months later? So it's going to be a fun journey for you. But you got my contact, and now you got Sean's, and Sean's got a big fleet of them already, and it's growing. So he's a good guy to lean on.
Awesome.
For sure.
Yeah, you'll wish that I didn't have your number.
Awesome. Well,
No,
thanks, everyone.
It's simpler than you think. So, all right.
Yeah, cool.
See you guys, everybody. Thanks for
Thank you.
for doing this.
Take care.
Yeah.
Thanks.